Hey y'all, I'm back. I'm here on TikTok and Facebook Live. Going to talk to you about a disturbing incident that's happening out in California, Northern California, believe it or not, of all places. So Facebook cameras over here, TikTok cameras over here. I'll be bouncing back and forth between the two. But anyway, there's this place out there called Miranda's Rescue, and they're under investigation. Some serious allegations out there. And I'm going to talk about it. And it's one reason why I distrust rescues. Right off the bat, when somebody says they're a rescue, I automatically distrust them. And that's kind of bad because I want them to trust hunters, but I've had so many bad dealings with rescues. Get yourself a cup of coffee, tune in. It's going to be about 10 minutes. So this story coming out of Northern California has a lot of people shocked in the animal world, as it should, because it's not some random internet rumor. It's a criminal investigation involving allegations of animal cruelty, fraud, possible false adoption records, dogs allegedly shot in the head, and what investigators call a mass grave connected to a rescue organization called Miranda's Rescue in Fortuna, California. Now, before I get too deep into this, these are allegations. There is an active criminal investigation. No convictions have happened, and no criminal trial has happened to this point. This is still under investigation. And I believe in facts, evidence, and due process. I don't like rumors. Any of you have ever watched anything I've ever done know that I'm not a big fan of rumors. I'm not a big fan of, what could have happened. I like to talk about what did happen. But at the same time, when multiple shelters, law enforcement agencies, and rescue partners all start sounding the alarm at the same time, people should pay attention. Because this story exposes something I've talked about for a long time. Accountability cannot apply to hunters and houndsmen when it doesn't apply to everybody. Now, according to the reports from multiple California news outlets, Humboldt County Sheriff's Office Major Crimes Division is investigating Miranda's Rescue for what they call credible allegations of felony animal abuse, animal cruelty, fraud, and conspiracy. Let that sink in for a minute. Major Crimes Division, not social media, not internet gossip, major crime investigators. According to investigators, evidence was reportedly gathered after animal rescuers and volunteers began questioning what happened to the dogs transferred into Miranda's Rescue from shelters around California. Now here's where the story gets real disturbing. Investigators allegedly recovered 8 dead dogs buried on the property. Some had reported wounds to the head inflicted by, man, I hate having to go by social media censorship words. You know these things that you use and you kind of pull the trigger and they go bang? Well, that's what would happen to these dogs. Several of these dogs reportedly still had microchips that identified where they came from. Now that's a problem right there. The dog's microchip, they know who the owner is, and the dog's still in a rescue. I have people contacting me all the time saying that microchips are the end all and the be all, and they'll be the solve all the problems. Well, here we got 8 dogs in California that have been unalived, allegedly by the shelter. They're unalive somehow. They got head wounds. And they got microchips saying who they belong to. According to Oakland Animal Services Director Joe Derives, one dog had reportedly been listed as adopted in a text message, but investigators later allegedly matched the microchip to a dead dog found on the property. DeVries reportedly said, when you got a text message saying the dog was adopted, and 3 days later you're looking at a picture of the dog with a bullet in its head. I really didn't need any more evidence to stop all operations. And folks, that statement right there is why this story exploded nationally. Because shelters all over the country rely on rescue partnerships. Think about that system for a minute. A local shelter gets overcrowded. They're out of room. They're desperate to save animals. A rescue organization says, "We'll take them." The shelter transfers the dogs. Money sometimes follows the dogs. Records get updated, and everybody believes the animals are safe. But what happens when the system is not transparent? What happens if nobody verifies the income or the outcome? What happens if everybody assumes everybody else is checking? That's the bigger issue here. Now we have reports of Miranda's rescue reportedly took in hundreds and possibly thousands of animals over 3 years from shelters throughout California. Investigators estimated the rescue may have retrieved hundreds of thousands of dollars connected to transfer and care arrangements. That's hundreds and thousands of dollars. Those of y'all watching, throw a like or two in the comments there so that these platforms will know that you appreciate these news articles. There's always a saying that I have, if you follow the money, you'll find the truth. So immediately people started asking questions. Was there enough oversight? Were follow-up checks being done? Were animals actually being tracked after transfer? Did shelters have trust reputations more than verification? And here's the uncomfortable truth. It's not a rescue problem. It's a system problem. Because anytime money and emotion, public trust all get mixed together, insight becomes critical. We covered a story just a couple of days ago where the East Coast animal shelter made a post, and it went viral for all the wrong reasons. And the comment section was full of absolute emotion and no facts. But you know, there's money involved, lots of money involved. So one thing I want to address directly is this. For years, many hunters, houndsmen, and rural Americans have been portrayed as the villains, by activist organizations. I'm going to say it again. For many years, many hunters, houndsmen, and rural Americans have been portrayed as the villains by activist organizations. We've been told hunters are cruel. We've been told houndsmen don't care about their dogs and they mistreat their dogs. We've been told rural people are backwards. And the only ethical people are the activists and the rescue organizations. Now here's a rescue organization that's under criminal investigation by the Sheriff's Department for felony level serious crimes. Bad actors can exist anywhere. In hunting, in rescue work, in government, in activism, anywhere. The difference is accountability. That's why I keep saying the truth should matter more than ideology. If somebody abuses a dog, investigate it. If somebody abuses rescue dogs, investigate that too. If somebody lies about adoptions, if somebody lies about dumping a dog, investigate it. There should be some penalties for these things, serious penalties. Especially these rescue organizations that get tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some of it's taxpayer dollars to take care of these dogs. And their idea of taking care of them is tossing them in a hole out back. Like is suggested that Miranda's rescue did. That's the reason they're under investigation. And there's another lesson here that I think the hound community should pay attention to. Identification matters. I've talked repeatedly about microchips for hunting dogs. Why? Because dogs disappear. A lot of folks, a lot of people close to me do not agree with microchips. I had one person I asked about it. I said, what do you think about microchips? His response was no, but the first word was kind of an ugly word, and it started with an F. He was very serious about his response. But dogs disappear. Dogs get stolen. Dogs get dumped. Dogs end up in shelters across state lines. We found dogs that were stolen hundreds of miles from where they turned up. And if there's no identification, the truth disappears with them. In this particular case, investigators reportedly used microchips to identify buried dogs and trace them back to the shelters. Without those chips, some of those dogs may have never been identified, and that's what matters. Now, Miranda's rescue founder, Sharon Miranda, has publicly denied any of the allegations and says not everything being reported is true. He says that he intentionally and vigorously defends himself and will devote decades to animal work. Again, due process matters. I'm not saying Miranda's guilty of any of this. I am saying that the Sheriff's Department's investigating it. The investigation is ongoing. But what concerns me most personally is trust, because the entire rescue and shelter world depends on trust. Shelters trust this organization. Volunteers trusted this organization. Donors trusted this organization. People surrendering animals trusted this organization. Now shelters across California are reported suspending transfers and cutting ties. That's a major breakdown of confidence. We've seen lots of major breakdown of confidence. Right here, I was personally involved when a dog was stolen out of Virginia and turned up in Raleigh, North Carolina at a rescue. The dog was stolen directly, I'm going to get me a sip of coffee, stolen directly from Hunt in Virginia. And then was brought to North Carolina and scheduled to be spayed. Now, the person knew they stole the dog. We caught him red-handed with the dog, and one of my friends went and took custody of the dog. It was about 10 years ago. But that was a major breakdown in confidence. And honestly, I hope this story exposes something else. Emotion is not oversight. The comment sections of social media are so full of emotion when a dog turns up. A dog can be found, often with numbers painted on their side. And people are in the comment section saying the owner should not get the dog back. My question is why? Do you have any proof at all that the owner dumped the dog? We have no idea how that dog came to be where it is. We do know that the dog was found somewhere. We don't know if it escaped its kennel. We don't know if it got lost. We don't know if somebody stole it. We don't know if somebody picked it up and drove it a couple hundred miles to turn it loose. That happened several times last year. Emotion is not oversight. Good intentions are not accountability. A nice website is not accountability. Social media following is not accountability. Transparency is accountability. Records are accountability. Verification is accountability. Independent oversight is accountability. Shelters operate and rescues operate with little to no oversight, and that's one of my major sticking points with them. I'm going to say something probably needs to be said more and more. If you truly care about animals, and hunters that I know that use dogs really care about their dogs, you should support investigations like this. because protecting animals means exposing abuse no matter who commits it. Whether they're hunters, rescuers, shelters, nonprofits, or activists, animals deserve the protection of everybody. Now, what really stood out to me in this story is how many shelters reportedly sent dogs there over the years. This is a massive operation. It raises serious questions about how rescue systems are audited nationally. And in case you don't know, there's organizations out there that'll take dogs, say from North Carolina, from a shelter, and fly them across the nation. Move them across the nation. So just because a dog was in North Carolina doesn't mean it didn't end up in California. It's unreal. Because if this can allegedly happen at this scale, people are going to start looking harder at rescue oversights everywhere. Folks, there's big money in rescuing dogs. I already know somebody's going to say this. Why are you talking about it? Well, it's simple. Truth matters. And because for years, houndsmen have been forced to defend themselves against broad accusations from people claiming moral superiority. These people claiming moral superiority, these people, the ones that are under investigation. Accountability works both ways. And I think ordinary Americans are getting tired of selective outrage. At the end of the day, here's what I believe. Most rescue workers are good people. Most shelter workers are good people. Most hunters are good people. And most houndsmen are good people. But the system fails when nobody asks harder questions. When the organizations become untouchable because people are afraid to criticize them or they hide behind Good Samaritan laws, bad things happen. This applies to every community. My message here is protect the animals, protect the truth, support transparency, support identification, and support accountability. And never assume somebody is ethical simply because they say they are. Facts matter. Evidence matters. Animals deserve the truth. And we'll continue to follow this investigation as more information becomes public. The Sheriff's Department's going to choose what information they share. We'll see what they give us. If you appreciate evidence-based reporting and discussions like this, like, follow, subscribe, share this podcast. I'm on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. And remember, protect the hounds, protect the truth, and watch the systems that claim nobody else needs watching. There's a lot of money changing hands over rescued dogs. And truth be known, some of the dogs didn't need rescuing. All right, I'm off Facebook. I'm still on TikTok. I saw a bunch of folks in there saying hi. I appreciate it. When I'm doing these lives, I got a bad case of the man disease. I can't do but one thing at a time. So I apologize if I didn't get back to you. So thank you for watching. This has been a pretty emotional thing and a pretty serious thing on top of that. I'll talk with you later.